What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. Just got through doing a very, very long video. Oh my goodness, it was long, about an hour long, on the Trump interview with the NABJ. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Um, I go over way more of the video than I planned, the interview than I planned, but I felt it was kind of important to hit a few of the spots to see, show what all he was talking about, the claims he was making. Anyway, but you see, I'm gonna try to make this one as short as I can. So, as you see in the title, um, things are, in my opinion, getting way out of hand over there. Um, and we're going to talk about all the update, go through everything real quick. Um, I'm going to give my opinion on it. Uh, if you like this content, please consider subscribing, like, share, all that good stuff. Try to help the community. And yes, so let's continue. Um, so, as we know, the timeline, or what has been recently happening, uh, we have had, we had Netanyahu come to Washington, give a ridiculous speech at Congress, uh, arrogantly calling on us to send more arms, unwarranted, like with no halt, faster, so that they can finish the job. Speaks with Biden and Harris, then speaks with Trump, goes back. Um, you know, we obviously see that we see that Harris is potentially could be a little bit more of a hardliner on him. He clearly doesn't like that. We see that Trump was going to just be completely open to him and let him do whatever he wants. While that's all going on, you have Hamas leadership, Fatah, and it's a lot of other, several other leaderships or representations of factions of Palestinians um, go to Beijing and they sign a Beijing declaration where they're, wanting unity. They're trying to unify all the factions. And this has happened several times, but this one seems to be way more unified and legit and like serious than they've ever done before. Because they truly seem to be wanting to at least appear on the international stage as if they are unified and are ready to go forward with like you know a governmental like status. We're wanting as much as possible. I think or they appear like they're hoping that that will help bring about a state for them, um, showing their unity. But we know right before Netanyahu came in Israel in the parliament, they pretty much had a vote that won or was on the side of not giving any kind of two-state solution, not even close, like off the table. Um, we've been having for months now ceasefire arguments, discussions back and forth. Netanyahu has consistently pushed back against it, won't allow it, hardlining on the idea that it's only temporary and that once hostages come back, he can just continue to do what he wants. Um, and that's a no go. Clearly, there's no way in the world Hamas, or anybody else for that matter, would agree to that. Um, then on top of that, you had And what I can only be, I guess, thought of as some sort of way to look good on the international stage after reports come out about torture happening um, in Israeli prisons, camps uh, on Palestinians. We had the IDF finally making a decision to collect up of soldiers and put them on trial for those crimes, for the most heinous of those crimes. And because of those actions, you had a mob like protest, riot, strike up in Israel at the base where they picked those soldiers up, and then again at the um, location where they were taking them to be tried. But they weren't protesting against the violence, they weren't protesting against the torture. They were protesting and calling for the release of these soldiers that did the torturing. They wanted them released. We had that video where we talked about that. Okay, that's, you know, after I did that video, the next day we have now had at least one of those soldiers has been released. Step free. Nothing done. You have a population that is so warped by Israeli propaganda and everything else that they are willing to argue in favor of obscene torture on Palestinians. Abuse, physically, sexually, even to the most extreme case of literal anal probing with a hot iron rod to the point where the individual could not walk and had to be hospitalized. And they're arguing for the right for the soldiers to be able to do that. It's perfectly fine. They deserve it. To now, our latest news is we have had two assassinations. Um, you had a strike that happened in the Israel, you know, uh, controlled Golan Heights in Syria, an area that is supposed to be Syria's, but Israel has controlled it for quite a while. Um, there was a strike made that hit some kind of like a soccer kind of field or whatever that had kids on it, and about 12 killed kids were children were killed. Israel blamed Hezbollah. Hezbollah denied, said that they didn't do it. Reports were come out that potentially it was actually, a misfired or failed missile defense system from the Iron Dome, trying to intersect with a missile from Hezbollah, and it and failed on this area. There has really been no way of proving it either way, or there's no definitive proof yet to have come out about it. Um, but in retaliation, Israel struck in Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon, and killed one of the top uh, Hezbollah commanders. So now we have, so then we had immediate, condemnation of it, uh, immediate, you know, escalation with Hezbollah, something that I quite frankly think Israel should probably not really want, because Hezbollah is way more capable, very highly capable of a pretty major war with Israel. Like, they could literally do some damage. If Israel genuinely thinks Hamas is a threat, Hezbollah is tenfold a threat. Um, but then not only that, but the day after yesterday, actually no, I'm sorry, this morning or late last night or whatever, um, Israel struck in Tehran, which is the capital of Iran. So literally struck inside Iran and killed one of the top, or basically the top, Hamas politician leader, um, who was there for the inauguration of the new Iranian president or prime minister, or however, whatever you call him. Um, it struck like the little house thing that he was basically visiting, staying in, which is like almost pretty much like within close quarters of the actual palace, um, presidential palace or whatever. Uh, Now this is someone, uh, Ishmael, uh, Hani or whatever. I'm probably messing that up. He was one of the top. You've probably seen him before. He's one of the top Hamas, like I said, leaders, like political leaders. So he's not a part of the military wing. He came up from out of Gaza. He was a part of, like, the um, activist type groups and stuff that eventually formed and became Hamas. Uh, but he went into the more political side, um, and at even one point was even like the president after the um elections in 2005 or six, whatever it was. Um, he actually temporarily was president over the PA, until uh, he was eventually kind of somewhat overthrown, I guess, or asked to step down or whatever. But he became a major political figure and like someone who was a negotiator, basically, for Hamas with the international community. Um, he's lived in Qatar for quite a while. They know his location, and at any point, if they wanted to have attacked him, they could have attacked him. But strategically, they wait until he is in Iran at this moment to actually attack him and kill him, which I think was has some major significance on many fronts. Uh, One being that this now kind of gives an embarrassment to Iran, that there's some type of security issue there, that you know this could happen within its own you know territory, and it was done with a precision missile, so they knew exactly where he was located. um, so now, and this is somebody, this is somebody who has been trying to do ceasefire talks. This is like one of the major guys, if pretty much the major guy doing ceasefire talks all along. Pretty much has probably been the one saying yes to the ceasefire agreements that then Netanyahu turns around and declines. He would have been the one that went to Beirut. I mean, sorry, went to Beijing and signed that declaration. He is considered a hero to not only a lot of the Palestinians, if not most or all, but even a hero to a lot of just Arabs in general. Even though he's considered a terrorist to, you know, Israel, U.S., some European countries, just like, uh, just like the commander of Hezbollah that got assassinated as well, and others. Um, so now you have the leader of Iran, the new president, um, now saying that this warrants a retaliatory strike, and that it will be, and the way it's looking, it's going to be a pretty hefty strike, and it will be inside Israel. The way it's looking is that they plan to strike some military locations. Um, and this is all to say that Israel's just out of control. Because they'd still continue to, you know, drop in Gaza. There's still more people being killed every day. But then they're continuously also going along, going on Hezbollah, and now attacking major and assassinating major leaders. Uh, Netanyahu is constantly pushed and pressed for us and tried his best to engage us in a wider war. And that's what it looks like they're trying to do. And I think he's trying to push it, knowing right now we are in a condition that is unfavorable for us in making a decision, because you have Biden basically lame duck, Kamala's trying to, work her way through the election process, and growing her favorability. So for her to, and she come out kind of hard lined against, oh well, you know, having some hard lines. Uh, feel in this, like he's trying to box her in and make her get in line and just uh, support, like we always say we are going to do, just support with no discretion, like just whatever they want, we're going to do. I'm telling you, I'm hope and seriously hope that we do not do that. I seriously hope Kamala, if she has any input in this, if she has any control in this, that she sticks to some of her rhetoric and puts Israel back in line, because they are rogue, and they're out of control. And as much as we want to argue that it's only the government and only LADF and the people in power, but after seeing even some of the populace, I mean, and it's not their fault. I don't blame the populace completely, anyways. But you have to hold some type of, everybody has to hold some kind of responsibility to decisions and rhetoric that you make and say. So, you know, yes, governmental influence, media influence, and everything is a real thing. But everybody has to, at some point, take responsibility for their own actions and their own rhetoric and their own, you know. Uh, I said I was going to keep this short. So, that's what's happening at this point. Uh, and I don't like it. They're out of control and they need to be put back in place before all hell breaks loose. And as much talk as I've always heard, and even today, continues to be to be said about Iran and how they're just the biggest threat over there, and there's we just never know what they're going to do, and they're just they've just got all these proxies, and they can just go crazy, and like they're just such a major threat. In recent history, if you even look back at the assassination of Soleimani, and how they retaliated, the strikes on the embassy here, a couple months back, and how they retaliated. Their responses, in my opinion, have been more in line with what you would expect a responsible and calculated, like respectful response to be. Reserved, like they, in my opinion, act more like the adults in the room than anybody in Israel, any body of power in Israel. And I'm you want to argue with me on that one? Uh, Israel's the one that looks like they're the threat and out of control, not Iran. I mean, you could have arguments of some of these proxies could have the potential to be out of control, but Iran keeps them in control. I mean, because they really can perform on their own. They have performed on their own without the approval of Iran. But then Iran puts them back in their place. I'm just saying, it looks like Iran is respecting international rules of engagement in the international stage and respect, and not advancing wars, not trying to push for wars more and better than the state of Israel right now, or the state of Israel even in the past decade or more. You could even argue since its existence, I can't even speak, since its existence. Wow, why is that so hard for me? um, they need to be reined back in. And I don't even know why I've been wearing these this whole video. I didn't need them. I had them on for the previous one. I'm sorry, but yeah, they need to be reined in and quickly. Uh, and this needs to be stopped before it just gets completely out of hand. Because we don't need that. Nobody needs that. Anyways, thank you for joining me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Consider subscribing, like, share, all that good stuff. And until next time, let's go talk. Peace.